No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump, and I am Jose Galison. What is up? I see plenty of y'all in the chat already. I see Doc Tori, what's up? I see Richard Booth, what's up? Don't see him a ton in here, at least on the live chat. Maybe check some out later. It's talking about wanting to hear about the USAID influencers, and that's what we will get into today. I do want to give you guys a little bit of a warning. I do have a bit of a hard out today, probably in the 45-minute to 1 hour range. So that's where we'll be. I know we're usually hour to 2 hours here. And also forgive me if it takes a little bit to update the RSS feed and do the bookmarks and all that stuff. Because basically as soon as I'm done, I'm going to run out here. And maybe I might have time to knock this shit out in the morning, but I might have to wait till I get back in the evening. My kiddo has a wrestling tournament, so I got to go check that out. But I got Murder, Death, Kill in the chat. Joey Poopbags is sup homos. Try to keep the gay shit to a minimum. That we will. Here is our jocular host. That is me. Let's and then Doc Tori said the USAID story has blown open a whole vein that the normies had no clue about. Should be fun. Hell, I'll be even honest, like to some extent I hadn't really gone too much down the USAID train. Like I knew it was a thing somewhat to some extent, but not really too much. It was like I was aware of it, but I can only imagine to what extent normies had no idea. Screwed up rebellions in here. All right, guys. Well, while we wait for more people to roll in here, I do real quick want to pay the bills. I want to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at NWJ Shave Co. If you're tired of that razor burn irritation that ingrown hairs caused by deep penetrating multi-blade cartridges, then this is the way to go. You can shave just like your grandpa used to, whether you're edging your whole or shaving your whole face or edging up your beard. The single blades provide a barber grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard issue puts you out about $75, and that comes with one traditional safety razor and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. The estimate here is supposed to last you a year. Let's be real, it's probably going to last you a lot longer unless you're someone who shaves on the regular. But now if you are someone who shaves on the regular, like particularly like daily, you may want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. That'll put you out about 25 cents per replacement blade. This is a COVID mandate refusing company. It was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. So to recap, this is a better product. It's a cheaper product. It's a product from a company that doesn't hate you. And to top it all off, you can get 10% off if you use code Jose at checkout. But with that, let's go ahead and let's get back into let's get into some content. Let's do that. Let's check in on what's going on with old Trumpy Poo. And let me see if I can find it. Dang it, I need a producer for there we go. Get into what the latest on Trump and taking over Gaza. Let's see his thoughts on that. Here is a tweet from Donald Trump. Well, it's actually from Dave DeCamp. He's sharing, Trump says Israel will hand over Gaza to the U.S. after the fighting. Now let's read what Trump himself said. So now we have, it's getting a little bit more clear, sort of, the vague idea being put out here. I'm sure there were talks behind closed doors or something along those lines, but all right. This is Donald Trump now. The Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. There you go. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer. All right, that's kind of funny. Although I think it's stupid that he calls them a Palestinian, but whatever, it's just kind of funny he throws it in there. Would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. they would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. Now, I know there has been a lot of talk about how this was some sort of negotiation tactic. This kind of, in my opinion, either makes me think that's less likely, or perhaps it may have backfired, and now maybe Netanyahu's getting more of what he wants. Because this sounds like if this is supposed to be his negotiation tactic to try to get them to do whatever. Because he says at the conclusion of fighting, he doesn't say specifically when the fighting is concluding, so this could still include the ceasefire going through. But this is kind of seems borderline intentionally vaguely written, in that this could mean when they resume fighting before this phase 2 starts, or when it starts, because that's the big contention, is they want to start back up with hostilities. So we'll see. And even then, on top of that, this kind of seems like a big okay, we'll see. Especially if they do resume hostilities. I don't know. I highly doubt that somehow we end up with the Gaza Strip if Israel continues hostilities and continues for another year, which I forget who it was. There was an anti-war article recently where I don't know if it was Trump or maybe one of his people that basically admitted that if hostilities pick back up, it would probably be at least another year. I forget who. Maybe it was the Knesset that said that. But either way, point being is we're looking at probably at least another year if they resume it. And if you think that somehow that we're going to get this strip of land at the end of it when Israel's done, assuming they reach their objectives, which they're not going to anyways, then I have a bridge to sell you. That seems like a complete and utter poppycock to me. I do not see this happening, but this does it kind of. I don't know. I'll be honest. I was a little bit hopeful because it's such a bizarre move that what he proposed initially. So I was a little bit hopeful. Maybe it was a negotiation tactic, and maybe it was. But if so, it looks like it may have kind of fizzled out. And even then, to add to all of this, even if it is a negotiation tactic or whatever, even then, the negotiation tactic, and it seems like the end goal here is still ethnic cleansing. So at the end of the day, even with all of this finagling and all this, it's still the goal from his perspective. I think even if he gets his way, is to move these people out and to try to get other countries to take them, which maybe you could say it would be nice if some of them would open and at least allow them. But if you're trying to make these people move, what you're talking about is resuming hostilities, because that's exactly what's been going on basically this entire time is ethnic cleansing. It's basically not really any different than what we were dealing with before, especially since we're likely going to outsource hostilities to Israel if it picks back up anyways, because we're not going to have anything to do with that likely, maybe little bits here and there, especially if it's not ours. But I don't know. I see this. I don't know. I think this might end up being one of the first MAGA L's, but we shall see. Let's check in the chat, see what you guys have to say. Their objective is all people like Chuck Schumer. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's stupid because it is pretty funny. Here we go. Orange Man is talking retarded. Yes, I mean, but he's only pretending to be retarded, guys. So don't worry about it. Here's Adam saying you need to check out Dr. Amon Hillman. Will be definitely be worth it. Lots of love, Australia. Well, if you follow me on social media or whatever, feel free to send me links or whatever. I will check it out when I get a chance. Hey, say what now? Good to see you. See Joey Poopbag saying Trump pushed BB's chair in for BB. BB pushes Trump's stool in. The funny thing is, we were talking about this on Tower Gang, and I don't know if this was when it was recorded last night. We were kind of talking about the idea of Trump pushing in BB's chair, and the problem is with a lot of this stuff, these could either be power moves or they could be bitch moves. So saying pushing someone's chair in could either be you yielding and being a bitch, or it can be you pulling a power move on somebody. Because I know, for example, if another man pulled a chair out for me, that would be a weird try to power move on me, because I don't want that. I'm a grown man. I can do my own chair. If anything, I'm going to be very stop. But on the flip side, we are dealing with elites here, so they might actually be more accustomed to things like that, and if anything, feel entitled to that sort of behavior, as opposed to this sort of independent man type mentality that a lot of people have. They're like, fuck you, I can do my own, I can push my own chair in. I'm not your woman, you're not going to fuck me, you don't need to push my chair in. So I don't know, I'm still torn in. I've heard rumors that it was reported by, I guess, Air Force, not Air Force, I always say Air Force because the AF, America First Post, and other places as well. So I don't know the degree to which is legit. I didn't really look into it, but supposedly, I guess there's rumors that Trump gifted a golden pager to Netanyahu as well, which and is another thing that can be interpreted two different ways. That can be interpreted as like almost a nod to like, that was a cool thing you did a while back, or that could be a nod to like, hey bitch, and why don't you keep that close? Wink, wink, like kind of like a veiled threat of some sort. I mean, there is some. Trump is not contagious to talking shit about Netanyahu. He has plenty of times in the past, so it is kind of hard to read all these things. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It still is like, dude, this is such a hard level of pretending to be retarded that at some degree, at some point, I just have to take you at your word that maybe you are a little bit retarded. What's up, Liam? See you in the chat. Good morning, Eddie Grimm. Here's Doc Torrey. He says, I'm pretty sure the plan for the Middle East has always been pay everyone to get along so he can claim peace. Yes, which is what we're doing right now with like the Abraham Accords and such. It's looking like we're going to, it's looking like the move that he's trying to do, because there's all these like negotiation tactics. We're trying to force these other entities to do certain things, because he wants like Egypt and was it Jordan? I forget the neighboring countries, but he wants some of the other countries to take these guys in. So he's going to likely try to, whether it's bribe them with money or extort them with tariffs or whatever. He's probably going to try to strong-arm these people into doing what he wants. But now the problem is he's already strong-armed them quite a bit. Well, I guess not strong-arm them. He's bribed them quite a bit. So there comes a certain limit of to what degree you can get what you want with a carrot and a stick, even with them combined. And I mean, they're already been pushing the limit of it for a long time. I mean, the leaders in the Middle East have essentially lost a ton of credibility in the eyes of their people. And I don't know to what degree we can push this further. So I don't know. It looks like a whole bunch of nothing might be happening here, to be honest. It looks like we're probably just going to keep going at. The only thing I'm hoping is that we don't continue these hostilities. But likely, it looks like the plan is still ethnic cleansing, and it probably is going to be for a long time. BB allowing another man to push in his chair is weak. Exactly. I agree. Like, I that's my feeling on that. But now, what that means to them, I mean, that could be him showing deference. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Let me see. So, nonstop Hegelian dialectics confuse the shit out of people, says Liam. Yes, for sure. I mean, I will say there is still a ton. I will give the people who voted for Trump credit or some credence here, and that, like, he has done quite a bit, and there's a lot to be excited about, which we'll probably get into some of that in a little bit. But you also got to be careful to not let yourself get wrapped up in the excitement of all that, to not also be like, this is stupid, because I don't know, be an independent person. Really, that's all it comes down to. All right, let's go to the next thing. This is from Abrogate D's. This is one of the homies, one of the supporters. He's saying, you're denying the Ukrainian agency. Every damn time I argue, we installed a puppet government. All right, he quote tweeted his comment was a quote tweet to someone named Matt Kennard, who said, this is wild. 90% of Ukraine's media is funded by CIA cut out USAID. I assume the other 10% is covered by CIA cut out NED. Washington has saturation propaganda control of a country of 40 million people. That's wild. I mean, that is actually stupid nuts. Man, this is one of these times that I am glad that I don't really read these before I bring them up. This is more like kind of, raw, real type, because this is like, man, you're gonna like, yeah, that's nuts. 90%. I mean, even if we assume the 10% is completely organic, that is insane. And then it kind of, the idea there that just makes you wonder, like, then what is the degree with our media? I know some of this information is coming out, so maybe we'll know. I don't know. It's nuts. All right, let's read this. I'll read this little excerpt that he put so you guys can verify I'm telling the truth. In Ukraine, 9 out of 10 media outlets rely on USAID funding. Okay, now to be fair, it says rely. Now, I don't know, that it could be that rely word is doing a lot of work. Like, what does that mean? I'm not sure. So, I mean, but I guess maybe we'll explain a little bit more here. In Ukraine, where 9 out of 10 media outlets rely on USAID funding, several local media have already announced the suspension of their activities and are searching for alternative solutions. At slidstovo.info, 80% of our budget is affected, said Anna Babinets, CEO and co-founder of this independent investigative media outlet based in Kiev. So 80% of their budget of this one spot. So that's anecdotal, but still, that's quite an example. The risk of this suspension is that it could open the door to other sources of funding that may seek to alter the editorial line and independence of these media. Some media might be shut down or bought by businessmen or oligarchs. I think Russian money will enter the market and government propaganda will, of course, intensify. Babnett says, oh my God. Okay, so they're already like within this little excerpt, like, well, if we don't have your guys' money, then the Russians are going to take over. All right, RSF has already witnessed the direct effects of such a propaganda, a fabricated video, falsely branded with our organization's logo, claimed we welcome suspension of USAID funding for Ukrainian media, a stance RSF has never endorsed. This is not the first instance of such disinfo. Now, I will say, if there's any country that should be that is has more of a right to be meddling in Ukraine's media, it's Russia. They're literally their neighboring country. It makes way more sense for them to meddle in it than it does for us. I don't want either to meddle in them, but at the end of the day, I kind of don't care. And I definitely don't want us meddling in it. And honestly, if there was, I kind of sort of hope, then I think about it, that Russia does, because that maybe we would get a quicker end to this war if they were able to see the propaganda within the people to, make this unfavorable to a greater degree. I don't know how well it's being accepted amongst the Ukrainian populace anyways, so maybe this can really, really push it if that is the case. But I don't think that's the case. It sounds like scare tactic bullshit to me, but we shall see. But that is pretty wild. 90%. Whew. I mean, that does kind of seem like a fast and loose metric, so I don't know to what degree you really can run with it, but still, that is nuts. All right, let's check back in. Someone says, are you on X? Yes, I am. If you do prefer streaming on X for some reason, I am on there. At Tower Gang Jose. It also streams to Austin's as well. So I believe that's at Theater Thug or something. I don't know. He has a weird at. And it's not the greatest, but oh well. Yes, I am an X. It streams there. You can follow me there as well. It's also a good way if there's content you want me to bring up on these morning streams. These are typically almost daily. These are like probably 4 to 7 days a week, depending on me and Austin's schedule. Typically at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you tag me and / or Austin and stuff, we're usually pretty good. At least me, I know I'm very receptive. I'd say I'm like 80 to 90% of stuff that you guys tag me and I usually bring up on the show. So all you gotta do is tag me, at Tower Gang Jose, and I will likely bring it up if it is worthwhile, which most of you guys' stuff is. So here's So What, saying I wish the USA would stop interfering in the political issues of other countries. Sure do, for sure. USAID, more like US HIV. Am I right? Yes, you are right. All right, let's get into the talks about the USAID influencers. Now, I didn't necessarily hunt down any original sources to prove this, because this is kind of not the point that I'm going to get to. We're going to get into another point here. Here's from iHypocrite. So we'll take his word to some extent. He says, so let me get this straight. Vaush, Ayala, Richard Hanania, James Lindsay were all funded by USAID. Who else? No, I guess there were, I think what I've inferred from this, there were some documents that came out in one way, shape, or form. And so people are kind of looking over those and going, oh my God, look at those people funded by USAID. Here's some of the larger people. Now, I didn't go into the specifics of this because this is, and we're going to be a little bit, this is I wanted to remind you guys to not run with everything immediately, because you look retarded sometimes when you do that. So, here's a good example of it. There are, for example, here's Dr. Barron saying, not exactly a huge Hananiac, but USAID wasn't actually funding him. The other names I've heard don't even show up, and the James Lindsay there is a different guy. I take no joy in reporting this, but I don't want us looking like clowns either. So so you're able, I guess now there's some way you can trace connections to USAID NGOs. Here's Center for Study of Partisanship and Ideology with Richard Hanania on here, and it shows $0 compensation. So I don't know where people are getting this idea of Richard Hanania. God, that's a weird name. I struggle with that one. So I don't know if people are getting this idea that he's being funded by it, but it doesn't seem to be the case. That's not my impression, at least. I mean, maybe this is incorrect, but I mean, my only point, even if this is incorrect, my point would be to hazard people to having, running with things without, waiting. Sometimes if things seem too good to be true, they probably are. For example, another too good to be true, here's James Lindsay, who I am not a fan of. I think he's a gigantic fucking faggot. I don't mean gay. I mean a faggot. I don't like this guy. But it seems that he's not, it doesn't seem like he is getting paid by USAID, at least not per the documents that people are looking over. So here's James Lindsay right here saying, oh, this is why these detectives think I'm paid by USAID. It's a different James Lindsay who works for CFR. My middle name starts with S, not M, idiots. he says. Council on Foreign Relations. So, I mean, that would be pretty wild if James Lindsay was on the Council of Foreign Relations. But yeah, so here you go. Here you see a James M. Lindsay, who, holy shit, he got compensated about $460, which I kind of wonder over how many years? Is this over 1 year? Holy shit, dude. I need to fucking start fucking saying goy slop bullshit. I'll fucking pay me, guys. What the fuck, dude? All right. Well, I mean, he was a senior VP and director of studies over there at the Council of Foreign Relations. So this is okay. So, all right. Well, this would have been pretty easy to figure out. I'm pretty sure anyone. All right. Well, it looks like someone looked up, found James Lindsay, and then just ran with it because they were like, oh shit, James Lindsay. Which if you even just looked at the thing below it, senior VP and director of studies at the Council of Foreign Relations. I think we can probably rule out that James Lindsay's not doing that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little bit spooky, but I don't think he's that level of spooky. That's next level spooky. So yeah. So be careful running with this stuff, guys. Here is the actual James Lindsay, James Ends Lindsay. Here's this dysgenic looking fuck. So here you go. That is the actual one that works at the Council of Foreign Relations that received almost $500,000 from USAID, which looks like it might have been over the course of a year. I'm not entirely sure about that one. And then here is our James Lindsay, this fat fag. All right, cool. I'm probably going to get struck for targeted harassment on this one, so that's fun. But leave him alone so we can say it's not targeted harassment. All right, let me check in the chat, see what you guys have to say. Yeah, you see CFR, always fat salaries. Yeah, which I would assume, but the idea that it's $500,000 coming straight from USAID, it's like, is that really their only funding source? That's kind of wild to me. But I get that they would probably be making that sort of money. I mean, not surprised someone who works in the CFR making $500,000, but for it to come straight from tax dollars, like $500,000 like that, that's wild. So here you go. Here's Dr. Roy saying, I don't doubt that the deep state is putting out fake info to cause rifts. It's only logical. Absolutely. Oh, geez. Lindsay said he's bi. So I guess, whatever. Cool. I didn't know that, but that's all right. Whatever. What do you think about the theory that DOGE is slashing USAID in order to send more money to Israel? USAID already works for Israel. I mean, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be surprised in the absolute slightest whatsoever. So I don't know. Yeah, that's not a bad theory at all. Because it is like, I know it is kind of bittersweet when we see all these like, oh, this is getting shut down, that's getting shut down. Oh, we're gonna look into shut down this, and then you're like, oh, we're gonna approve $1 billion to Israel, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? You're like, you're cutting all this money, and then we're like, we got to put this money somewhere. You're like, you don't have to. It's like this military budget mentality that like we gotta use it. You're like, oh, dude, come on. Here's so what says USAID still recruiting on LinkedIn. I bet they are. I bet you they probably. Okay, actually, never mind. I totally forgot a bit of information as I was saying that they're actually going. They're not shut down. They're going to be put under the State Department. That was the latest. I don't know if anything's newer on that, but yes, he is. Yeah, he's. I mean, it makes sense they're recruiting because they're going to be taking in probably more people somewhat soon because they are. I mean, I would assume they're probably not actually hiring at the moment, but I'm sure they're still recruiting and they're probably just telling them like, hey, hit us up later and we'll probably hire you. But yeah, they're getting ready to be put on the State Department. I think they might be they might be dialing down. So we'll see. All right, here we go. I don't think they need to slash funding from Israel to send to Israel. All they'd have to do is print money to send to Israel. Yeah, that's true too. I don't know. I mean, it might just be one of those things that makes everyone feel good. You're like, oh, cool. Look at all this money we're saving. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit in there. Here's something else from Doctori 420, who always is great about getting good stuff to us. I definitely pay attention when it's. So here it says, looks like Reuters was a psyop for the feds. So here is from Wall Street Mavericks. Reuters Special Services LLC received a U.S. government contract for active social engineering defense large-scale social deception. What the heck was that? So Reuters received which honestly I don't even remember too much about. Reuters is what, journalism? I know there's some sort of journalist. I don't know a ton about them. I don't really use them much, to be honest. Yeah, they're international news. So owned by Thomson Reuters, 2,500 journalists, one of the largest news agencies in the world. It was established in London. Okay, so it's international London. So this is more of like an international one. I don't know. I didn't know too much about it. I know it's a journalistic establishment. I didn't know a ton about it. But I guess they are receiving U.S. government contract for social engineering, defense, large-scale social deception. That is a mouthful of like, what does that mean with a bunch of words that I find to be a little bit like, I don't know if, how are you going to really, oh my God, these shortened versions, LSD too. That's kind of funny. So large-scale social deception shortened to LSD. All right. Wow. So award description, active social engineering defense. Man, it's wild that they would put like specifically like this, exactly like this. You know what I mean? Like that's nuts. So, all right. So there's that. This is from the Department of the Air Force, I guess is where they got the contract from. You can see that the bottom here, Department of the Air Force awarding sub-agency. So this was through the Air Force that they got the contract. COVID obligations. All right. Well, I don't know what that is. All right. Yeah. No, so they got a contract. It looks like for 10 million, maybe. I don't know. Obligations. I would assume that means what the contract is obligated to pay out. Is what I'm assuming that it means. I'm not sure what outlays means, but yeah. So I'm assuming that it's somewhere in the realm of 10 million, which is like 9 million, actually. But still, wow. Okay. Well, that is something. I mean, consider me unsurprised. I mean, watch. We're probably in a situation where maybe they did dial back Mockingbird somewhat. And okay, I say that very, very, very. How do I say that? Very. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. But anyways, when I say they dialed it back, it's like not as overt as like the Ukraine example I explained a little bit. It's still there for sure. Probably. I mean, if I had to guess, probably somewhere to 40 to 60, maybe 70% range. But it's like watch probably that we've done this situation where it's like everywhere else we've done it, but then us we try to give some sort of perception of like, oh no, you guys have legit media. No, you guys have legit media, but everywhere else is infiltrated. But I don't think this is going to be able to last longer. I just find that to be funny if that is a situation. If that is a situation, it doesn't look like it's going to last for much longer, even without like Trump, Elon, or whoever coming to the rescue or whatever. I think just the way that the media landscape is changing, there's no way you're going to be able to pull this shit off in the future. So, all right, let me just check back in the chat, see what you guys have to think about that. Let me see. Hey, here you go. Dr. Roy says, active social engineering defense is a program designed to protect against social engineering attacks by continuously monitoring and analyzing user behavior for signs of suspicious activity. Active social engineering defense. Program designed to protect against it by continually monitoring and analyzing user behavior. That's God, man. That's almost like Orwellian in the sense of like kind of like saying like, oh, the kind of like how we have the Department of Defense where it's like, okay, which that's Orwellian as well because it's not. It's basically almost never been. But that feels like the same exact thing where it's like an Orwellian thing. We're like, oh no, this is defend against social engineering. And to do that, we're going to monitor you all the fucking time. So I guess Arcane's saying they are the thought police. What's up, Eddie Grimm? A little salute. All right, let's pop into the next one. The next story here is Elon Musk saying, Vox Populi, Vox Dei. And he's quote tweeting himself saying, would you like at DOGE to audit the IRS? I sure as fuck would. Now, the significance of this is Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Now, if those of you who aren't like terminally online or haven't been on Twitter and stuff, this was a thing. I forget what it actually means. Actually, let me look it up real quick so I don't look retarded. But it's something to do with like it's an old saying about like the will of the people or something. Let me see. What is it meaning? The voice of the people is the voice of God, which honestly I fucking hate that. That's stupid because that's like some democracy, dick riding right there. Which is totally bullshit. That is, conceding to the will of the mob as if they have some sort of godly knowledge, which they don't. But either way, whatever. That aside, I mean, in this instance, I'm cool with it because the idea is like, hey, what do you guys think? And kind of like what your will is to be done. Essentially, is what the implication here. So I'm cool with that. But for those who remember, in the early days of Elon taking on Twitter, this was a thing he said a few times when he came on, and he would do exactly this, where he would have some sort of he would have a poll. I don't know why I had a hard time figuring out that fucking word, but he would have a poll, and whether it be, I forget the different things he put out there, but Twitter related things. This was before obviously he had any sort of hand in the government. This is when he was just head of Twitter, but he was talking about like changing things, like, bringing back suspended accounts, this and that. Like this was what he would throw out. And to be fair, a lot of these things did end up being, even on the Twitter side of things, a lot of those things he did do. I think there might have been one or two of them maybe he didn't actually really do, and then there were a few of them that there were like kind of a big asterisk next to it where you're like, oh, well, he sort of did that, but not really. But either way, it's still like, I mean, the question here being DOGE to audit the IRS, it's like, well, yeah, I would fucking love that. So, I mean, even if we get even a tiny bit, if we even get something even close to that, that's cool. Even if it just put scrutiny on the IRS, hell yeah. So I don't know. I mean, and while this normally I would be like, this is some toothless bullshit, but we just spent probably the majority of this episode talking about, or up to this point, about USAID, or, similar type things. And it's like, I mean, a lot of people may not realize how this worked out, how this shook out. The timeline here was essentially Elon started fucking quote tweeting all sorts of different negative news stories about USAID and being like, look at this bullshit, look at this, look at that. I obviously didn't say that. He probably, in Elon style, was probably like, wow. And that was probably all his tweet was. But my point being is he was quote tweeting it, and he has probably one of the largest, if not the largest, accounts on this platform. He is he's the one who owns this platform. And on top of that, he is, the head of this DOGE thingamajig that's supposed to have some sort of like gutting capability. And like, while it may, I don't know what degree it actually has literal teeth in the idea of like being a government agency or powers unto itself, but even just the idea of him, bringing this many eyes on things, like, I mean, even like with his USAID, think about all the information people have attained just from the exposure of the USAID, let alone whatever changes in the form, like where this goes, whether it's abolished, goes into the State Department, gets shrunk, whether it's shrunk or not, whatever. I mean, either way, that's a positive. And I think, sometimes just the idea of bringing attention to these things kind of then leads to, at least minimizing or its downfall of whatever given thing. So I think there might be some sort of winning strategy here with like having somebody with such a large PR, apparatus with him, that, operating in this way to where he just broadcasts, negative stuff about whatever given thing he decides he doesn't like to the world. And you could essentially, he kind of creates pressure on the government, because now not only is this makes it even more the fact that he's running this DOGE thing, because now there's this like perception to people on the outside that this guy runs some government agency, that he's going to do something. So him throwing out there now, if he throws out all these awful stories about some entity, like say the IRS, and like say they're really, really bad shit, and then like no movement's made on it, it makes the government that's here look weak and kind of evil, because for one, they're not responding to someone within their own camp that's supposed to be working on this stuff. And it very clearly seems like he doesn't, he wants to do something about said thing, and you're not letting him. I don't know. I think there might be some sort of winning combination here. Don't get me wrong. I've talked mad shit about Elon, and I still have a lot of shit to say about him. And I'm still not trusting of him. I'm a little concerned about these tech billionaires, what they think they're going to be in the future. I don't think they're going to be what they think they're going to be in the future, but it is concerning that they seem to have these aspirations. But yeah, no, this is an interesting development, and I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see where this goes, but we're nearing tax season, and that'd be fucking dope. Although I don't really feel like, I will be honest, the whole nothing ever happens mentality is probably a little bit true to when it comes to whether this is going to affect our taxes at all, at least this year. Probably not. Almost certainly not, if I had to guess. But even the idea of digging into their books to fuck with them is going to be, because we're going to get, I can't even imagine if we dug into the books the stories that likely might come. Like the USAID stuff we were just looking at will probably be like peanuts compared to the stuff we see when we dig into the books of the IRS, because I don't think anyone's really ever really dug into them. So it should be interesting to follow this money, because I mean, we looked at the USAID spigot to see where all this money is going to. Now we're even going further up the chain to straight up to where the government attains their money in the first place, aside from printing money. Obviously, you guys know that. But yeah, wild stuff. I'm a little bit excited about this. So I mean, once again, obviously we started on a sour note a little bit with Trump, but I don't know. This is I am interested where this goes, but definitely there's cons to be had with this presidency as well. So, all right, let's check in, see what you guys have to say. All right, here you go. Dr. 420 says large-scale social deception refers to the use of deceptive tactics on a broad scale to manipulate public perception or behavior. In other words, propaganda. All right, let me see. All right, it's only been 2 weeks also. All the spurging from our enemies is glorious. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely liked to see it, but I will say it is also, on the flip side, I do find it equally annoying when I see, certain people out there that are a little bit of like, Trump deep throaters that are kind of in my circles, similar, ideologies or sensibilities that really jump on his dick. And I find them finding ways to, justify or fall in line with stuff that I'm like, dude, you don't actually believe this, or they find ways to cope with it in some way. I mean, myself included to some extent. I mean, I found myself trying to figure out ways with this whole thing, like something else for this to mean. But yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. Just it's a mixed bag. Just don't be an independent thinker. Don't get caught up in the crowd, because despite what Elon says about the will of the people is the will of God, no, the mob is not always right. It's very often the mob is a bunch of fucking retards, because honestly, people in groups kind of are fucking retarded typically. I mean, sometimes, with certain things, mobs are intelligent, when it comes, but some things they aren't. So not something to be relied on at all. But I don't know, just keep your head on a swivel. But it definitely take the wins and, give props, but also don't shy away from the else. So, there's real talk about putting the treasury in the blockchain. I've heard about that, which could be interesting, depending on how it is put through. I am not a crypto guy whatsoever, so I can't really talk too much to that, but I know there's ways that could be put forward that would be better or good. I mean, and there's ways that could be one of the worst things ever. So at least that's my understanding. So we'll see. Here's Dr. Roy. Can you imagine fully transparent government funding? You can search anytime you want. Yeah, that'd be insane. Here's Screwed Up Rebellion. They are horrified by audits for a reason. The findings could destroy the regime, but I'm highly skeptical they will expose they will worse things. Exactly. Which is kind of the similar thing we've seen with this USAID stuff. I mean, we need some of people of our ilk, the deep researchers, say like even say like my co-host Austin, like need to send him down those fucking looking at those files and be like, yo, look at all this shit, figure this out, because right now all this sort of stuff we're getting is, ooh, look at this influencer, ooh, Ukraine. You're like, which, don't me wrong, the Ukraine thing matters, but like it's more of kind of like a hot button issue, so that it catches the eye. Real fucked up stuff I feel like is probably going to get under, even with the USAID thing's probably going to get mostly ignored. It's going to end up being like, oh, look, they gave, $3,000 to some gays in New York. Like, it's going to be, or, oh, like here's a black veterans group they gave money to, or here's a BIPOC fucking, Star Trek council or whatever that they got. It's going to be dumb shit like that. It's all the fucking like the woke vibe type stuff. It's going to be all that. Like, oh my God, they used USAID to spend $30,000 in Ukraine to study the breeding patterns of the local partridge. It's going to be dumb shit like that. That's going to be the type of stuff that I think is going to be retained in the memory of people when it comes to USAID. But either way, it's still an improvement to what it was before. And I think we could see the same thing with the IRS. But, I mean, I think in time we will have our people that dig into the stuff and find the juicy stuff that matters to people like us. Is JMS in the government thought the Smith-Mundane Act, I don't think it's mundane, but I don't remember what it's called either, but could make them control their memes, but it merely turned the government into a meme. Yes. I mean, you try to put your fingers, if you, really in like anything in the world, if you take any sort of naturally occurring thing and you push your finger on it, it's always going to bounce back. Like probably good examples, like say for something like, let's say your body's energy levels. Let's say things like most of us, I'm drinking coffee right now. I drank energy drink. I don't drink energy drinks like ever, hardly anymore. I used to a lot, but for every up, there's a down, and the same thing applies to pretty much anything. So if you're dealing with an organic thing, and then you put your finger on it to, kind of in some way artificially manipulate it, that's going to swing back. And the same thing say with something like energy levels. Like if you drink 3 Monsters, you will have an energy boost, but a few hours from then you're going to feel sluggish. Like that's how your body works. Like you can't. I mean, if you do cocaine and, the night, like you do cocaine tonight, the following morning, you're probably going to be pretty fucking tired. Like you're going to be exhausted the next day, but you're going to have a blast that night doing cocaine. Like, so here's Screwed Up Rebellion saying, oh, Smith Munt, here you go. AI trying to keep me down. There you go. That was right. I was cautiously optimistic about Trump, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I do think Trump learned a lot as applying what he learned from his first term. Time will tell. I agree. Yeah. It's pretty impressive how much he learned. 100%. So I will say while I definitely have my complaints, it does seem to be an improvement. But all right, let's get into the last story of the day. Here is a Boltzmann booty thing. I just thought this was particularly interesting. He's been kind of on this, going down this rabbit hole recently and stuff along these lines. But I figured we just follow up this thread. Just found it particularly interesting. The bit role of Pyro in the X-Men movie was added so Mark Collins Rector and Bryan Singer and Brock Pierce could drug and rape the young actor they cast the part, who left the industry and changed his name. He's a childhood friend of Pierce, and he lived with Pierce and Rector beforehand. Which he's been kind of going down this Brock Pierce, which I don't even really know much about this guy particularly. I'll have to dig into these later. We're just going to kind of look at this one thread today. But yes, he ties into so many other people of power. But I just found it interesting, especially since I'm a bit of a comic book nerd, to what extent this kind of tied into comic book lore, sort of. Because Bryan Singer was like the original X-Men, which I actually really appreciate those movies. They were cool. But yes, I know he then later got in trouble for some sort of impropriety. I forget specifically what it was later on, but I don't feel like it was anything this overt. But we're going to get into reading what Booty has unearthed here. So let's look at this. In a retrospective from The Hollywood Reporter, a source recalled how Singer brought Mark Collins Rector to set just months after he was accused of sexually abusing a 13-year-old. Oof. Okay. Maybe those were the accusations. I forgot what the accusations were. Collins Rector was eventually indicted for transporting minors across state lines for sex in August 2000, just a month after X-Men's release on July 12th. Later, Collins Rector faced a lawsuit from Alex Burton, who appeared in 2000's X-Men as Pyro when he was 18 years old. Okay, so he was 18 at that time. All right. Man. Burton was cast with no previous acting credits to his name and was then flown from LA to Toronto for a bit part. Although roles as small as his are usually cast locally, he reportedly told one source that Mark and Brian created that role for me. On July 20th, 2000, Burton filed a suit that claimed Collins Rector, Chad Shackley, and Brock Pierce used drugs and threats of physical harm to sexually assault him. He claimed the incidents took place between July 1999 and May 2000 in Encino, California at Digital Entertainment Network, a business venture where all four men worked. Although Singer was not named in the suit, the time period coincides with X-Men's production, which suggests this was an ongoing situation when both Collins Rector and Burton appeared on set. Man, that's pretty wild shit. In the suit, Burton accused Collins Rector of threatening to use his power and influence in the entertainment industry to prevent Burton from gaining employment in the field of entertainment. Notably, Burton did not appear in the sequel X2 X-Men United. Singer's rep claimed Burton was not brought back because Brian needed the character Pyro to appear, what was it? There's a thing, something older, maybe? It cut off, and go through a darker transition where he ultimately becomes a villain. Burton ultimately won $6 million from the lawsuit. When that was not paid, the courts demanded an additional $4.8 million in interest. He has since changed his name and has never appeared in other film or television project. Man, that's a bummer because I remember Pyro and I actually kind of dug him as a character. I thought it was an interesting little storyline because there was Pyro and Iceman were kind of buddies and they both went to the X-Men school, and then Pyro kind of then falls in with Magneto. And I thought it was a fun little, kind of a good character work there. And I thought he fit the character well. I thought I liked him as an actor. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, he won $6 million in a lawsuit from these accusations. So, and then they didn't even pay it, and then apparently he got another $4.8 million in interest. So he ended up getting almost $11 million in his accusations. This is still, I guess, technically, maybe allegedly, or you may not even have to use allegedly, since depending on the specifics here, I don't know how that works when it comes to civil court. I think, but that's still, yeah, he won essentially $10 million on this accusation. So that's wild. Collins Rector, Shackley, and Pierce were recently returned to their Southern California mansion and incorporated a new company, Worldwide Technology and Internet Ventures Ltd., in the British Virgin Islands. Ooh, islands. Among the new names of the company is an 18-year-old ex-DEN actor, Alex Burton, who lives at the mansion and is a childhood friend of Brock Pierce. Burton's mother, Alexander Anderson recently contacted Times reporter saying she was concerned about her son, and that he doesn't return her calls. Reached by phone in the mansion, Burton said there was no reason for anyone to worry, but declined to speak further. Palmieri, the attorney, said Collins' director had nothing to do with bringing Burton to the company. It sounds like a pattern, but it's not Mr. Collins' director who has done this, Palmieri said. For appearances only, I said, why not have everyone leave? And he said, why should I change my life? I'm not doing anything wrong. And here's a photo. I don't know if that's supposed to be Wolverine. It's Pyro. They had similar kind of hair. But yeah, there's Bryan Singer on the left. So yes, there's that creep. Let's keep going. Here goes. Here's the white screenshot describing Burton's association with Pierce and Rector before X-Men, in which his mother says she's concerned because he never returns her call, is from the link in the QT. Oh, my bad. Let's play this real quick. I believe probably the mom, if I had to guess.
What most people wouldn't recognize is some of the odd connections that seem to tie him to this world.
Know your star. Pickle Boy.
Brian Peck, who was convicted of child molestation, worked for him on X-Men and did the commentary for X-Men with Bryan Singer.
Hi, my name is Bryan Singer, and I'm the director of X-Men.
I'm the other Brian Peck. I'm not the director of X-Men.
I've asked Brian if he would help me out here because I'm a little uncomfortable doing these things by myself. Now you're going to see something very exciting here. One is Stan Lee selling hot dogs. My buddy Gary Goddard was the guy walking alongside in the flannel shirt. And the guy eating hot dogs is you.
The fat guy in the Hawaiian shirt eating hot dogs. Hey, that's me. Thank you for, I'm on screen so long. Thank you.
You are. It's in fact, you are so imposing.
All right, that's particularly interesting. Keep in mind, he says right here, that's the one who I guess probably allegedly as well raped Drake Bell back in the day. For those, I haven't watched the documentary on all this Nickelodeon, or was it Nickelodeon? I forget which, but I know there was that was some of the stuff I believe that was revealed in that. But spoiler alert, Drake Bell I guess got raped by this guy. Since the very first scene of X-Men prominently features a convicted child rapist who was close friends enough friends with Bryan Singer to do the DVD commentary for the film with him, eating a hot dog in front of Stan Lee. And it's the guy who raped Drake Bell. So here you go. Here's a photo of him, criminal status, released and registered as a sex offender. Okay, that's in 2005. All right. Convicted on 2 counts. A lewd act upon a child 14 or 15 by a person 26 or older. Oral copulation of a person under 16. 16 months in prison. Victim, Drake Bell. Okay, actually, shit, he got convicted of that. That happened in 2005. Man, that must have somehow slipped the news. I don't remember that being the case. All right. Here's another excerpt that Bolton and Booty has pulled up. It says, Kyle Sullivan, who performed with Peck on the Nickelodeon show All That, has recounted that Peck has had correspondence with the serial killer John Wayne Gacy. Holy fuck. Which, for those who aren't aware, I believe I titled this episode, the Super-Chickenhawks, obviously playing off the superhero and the Chickenhawks. I hadn't even read this thread yet, so I didn't realize how accurate that was. I would recommend people read Eye of the Chicken Hawk, and kind of you might be able to tell what I'm getting at here. There's a lot to suggest that there's a lot more to John Wayne Gacy than meets the eye, and it may not have just been some lone, deranged gay serial killer, and it may have been some sort of group of some sort, which, I don't know, I just find it interesting. Sullivan, who visited Peck's residence at the age of 14, recalled observing a significant volume of written communication exchange between Peck and Gacy. Sullivan asserts that Gacy, who pursued painting while on death row, purportedly sent Peck an autographed painting of a clown, which Peck reportedly displayed in his residence at the time. Wow. And Singer, and he's from Booty again. And Singer says his buddy, Gary Goddard, is a guy you see walking along the flannel shirt in the scene. So the first 20 seconds of X-Men feature 2 child rapist friends of Bryan Singer. And here we go. Here's a, Gary Goddard. This is a headline of some sort. It says 8 former child actors accuse Hollywood producer Gary Goddard of sexual abuse. So it keeps on going, huh? But yeah, that's all I have on that. I just thought you guys would find this a particularly interesting story. I did, for sure. Especially, when I was pretty interested in that story. Good morning, Bobo Makua. See you in here. So let's pop in here. Let me see. All right. Booty hates us. Okay. Also this bit about how those guys rape pyros over a decade old. Yeah, okay, I didn't know about it, so it's news to me. I mean, whatever. This show is not only news, it's also some olds, some news and olds. So I don't know, that was I found it was particularly interesting. But I did enjoy the X-Men movie, so it's a little bit of a bummer. The whole artists and the art, that sort of things. But yeah, most of Hollywood's boning kids for sure. You have literally like 4 guys there who aren't. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, here we go. John Wayne Gacy was conducting MK Ultra experiments for the CIA. I don't know about that, but maybe. I don't even recall anything that points to that. But I do remember there was stuff that ties them into other kitty diddlers. But all right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I got to skedaddle, but I appreciate you guys showing up today. Make sure you pop in. I think Austin will be running tomorrow. I think I gotta work tomorrow, so Austin will be taking over for me tomorrow. I believe he's been a little bit under the weather, but I think he should be better by tomorrow. I just finally got better. I was feeling like absolute shit yesterday, if you guys can tell, and the day before that. On Tuesday. So honestly, I probably should have rescheduled that. Already did. So sorry about that, guys. I was out of it, but yes. Sorry, I'm trying to find something real quick. But yeah, we're finishing up here, guys. I appreciate you guys showing up. If you guys want to support what I'm doing, you can do that at patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get the early access to the episodes. For example, on Sunday, I will be having a Biggest Shitter back on. We'll be continuing our Vegas series. And then also it gives you allows you to be a talking head on me and Austin's Already Dead on the call-in portion on the show, and also it can allow you to get the ad-free RSS feed. But yeah, that's also at the highest levels. My sponsors, I read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Dode, at ZOVRACK, at Abrogate D's, at _Infinite Zeal. I also have at Jolly on Klebold, the homie, and then Will Bell has a delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine, then a big fan of the show, Torin May, then at INWARD Lover, because we should all learn to look inward and learn to love ourselves. And with that, we are out of here. Everyone's saying bye-bye, bye, Bobo, bye, Screwed Up Rebellion, bye, Hey Say What Now, bye, Eddie, bye, Doctore, bye, everybody. It was nice being here. Deuces, guys. Bye-bye. Yeah, go raid Timeline Clans. Are they going right now? Hell yeah. Go hit up them. Go hit up them. Tell them I said hey. But we're out of here. But guys, deuces.